everybody. Welcome back to Taji's World of Books, and welcome back to another book club book review. And we have our guest today.
Hi, I'm Charles, from the channel Books on Stereo.
Excellent. And so today we are going to be reviewing one of my picks, and this is Lisa Jewell's The Night She Disappeared. And just to give you a brief synopsis of this book, it sort of tells
Be
it.
Careful. Be careful. You can't give too much away.
No, the only thing
you yell at me for saying too much.
No, the only thing that I'm going to say is that this is about a story that's told in a bifurcated way. So it starts off with Tallulah and her boyfriend, Zach, and it's being told by her mother. And as it says, it's the night that she disappeared. And so a year prior, Tallulah disappeared. She went out to the pub with her boyfriend Zach for a romantic dinner, and she left their son Noah with her mom Kim, and she said we'll be back at X time. And Tallulah and Zach are both pretty responsible kids, and so the mother expects them to come home, and she never hears anything else. And it's basically the story unfolding so that we're finding out pieces of what happened that night and what happened to Tallulah and Zach from Kim's perspective. And she has various other people that are sort of helping her, that are coming into play to kind of answer these questions that she has, because she never gave up hope about what happened to her daughter. And so I'm going to leave it at that, because you don't want to tell too much about the story, because it really is going to give spoilers. And so you really want to go into this pretty blind to really experience it as it's being told. Much like we did. And so having said that, I'm going to leave my thoughts about it to the end, but I'm going to give it to Charles and say, so what'd you think? And did you want to add anything else to it? The description based on what I've said.
No, but I want to go on record. If you guys watched our last meeting, when I described the book, Taji got so mad at me because she thought I was saying way too much. And she just gave you the whole entire setup. And I just gave you one sentence and Taji was mad at me. So viewers of Taji, make sure you hold her accountable for this. But just kidding. Non-spoilery thoughts. I can't really say anything without spoiling anything. So I think I would do we can do general, overall thoughts and star rating.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of save some of the talking more about the plot and the characters for that after that. So for me, I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. And just overall, the reasons why I gave it 2 out of 5 stars, it felt a little bit too pedantic. When I want to read a mystery, because this is not a thriller, that's not a spoiler. It's 100% a mystery. You're trying to figure out what happened to Tallulah and Zach. And I just found myself reading and I wasn't even trying to solve what exactly happened. I didn't find myself particularly caring about what happened to these two characters. And for someone who has read a lot of mystery thrillers, I already kind of clocked vaguely what was probably going to happen between these two characters. If you have read any mysteries or any mystery thrillers and you've seen a similar setup to this, I don't think it does anything different, but it does focus, hyper focus on the characters. And I think because of that, it kind of misses the building of the suspense of the mystery. So when you get the reveals and everything, it's oh, okay. But what are your thoughts?
Completely the opposite. I absolutely loved it for all of those reasons. I gave it a 5 out of 5 star. I was entertained. I was invested. I was interested. And I think because it did focus on the characters and not so much on the mystery, the mystery was there and you wanted to know what happened, but it was also about understanding the psychology of each of all of the characters, not just the main characters. And so I was really invested in that. And I thought I was going to go into it because of our conversation last week. I knew that you weren't going to like it. So I was like, oh man, this is going to be terrible. So I think I went into it expecting it to be really bad and was pleasantly surprised. And also because it's a departure from what I normally read. So that was really it was like refreshing, and I thought it was a quick read, and I read it really quickly and didn't get bored, didn't find my mind wandering, was interested in like each step of the way. And I didn't get stuck in trying to figure out what's going to happen next. I stayed present in the story and experienced it as I went, as opposed to jumping ahead. So for me, it was a great experience. It's so funny that we're like on two ends of the spectrum here.
But two, I think a good question is because like, have you read a ton of mystery thrillers?
I have not. I have
I think
not.
that's where the difference is. I read before I even got into romance, I read a lot of mystery thrillers, a lot of the popular ones. So like my mind, it takes a lot to like really surprise me with the mystery thriller. So like when you said you were like the complete opposite, I was like, I wonder if it's because like you haven't read a ton in that genre, because that's a very popular trope. Even that author has done it before in previous books. Because I remember I got a mix up and then she was gone.
Yeah.
I was like, is it that book? It's not like the same, but similar vibes. So I was like, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
I think I think she's a really good intro where you're like not overly focused on the mystery. You can spend time with the characters and you do get those answers, but you don't necessarily have to, you don't have to think ahead. But like from my mind, as soon as I read that opening, I was like, boom, I can already peg what's probably going to happen. And then when it happened, I was like,
so should we say at this point, like, I think we've said everything that we want to say in the non-spoilery section. Can we say like, let's move into the spoilery section now and kind of talk about some plot points so we can really get into it?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do it. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, you're going to stop right now and then jump to the end. If you don't mind spoilers, we're going to, really talk about the plot of the book. And so proceed with caution. So go ahead, talk about, so when you said that opening scene, what was it in that opening scene that led you to like, go, all right, I know where this is going?
When I heard, when I first opened the book, I thought it was just Tallulah that went missing. And it was Tallulah and Zach. I was like, okay, probably one of them is dead or both of them are dead. Now, how are we going to get to that point where you get that reveal? And throughout the whole time, it felt like the mystery really took a back burner, because it's told, like, for people who have read it and who are sticking around with us, it's told basically almost like in three perspectives. You have Tallulah in the past, you have Kim, Tallulah's mother, in the present, and then you have Sophie, who is a random kind of investigative like author / journalist who is like kind of interested in this case, and she basically helps move the mystery plot of the story along.
Right.
And I think from my point, since we spent so much time with the characters, I really did not like Tallulah. Like, I think Tallulah and Zach were just not matched from the beginning.
I agree.
But some of her actions as she kept on going on, and I get Zach was controlling. Zach wasn't perfect either.
Yes.
I 100% will say that. Yes. But some of her actions towards Zach, like when he's like saying, hey, you missed like Wednesday, like we're supposed to do something together. Yeah. And she's just so flippant. And then factor in that she's having an affair with a woman.
Yep.
And the fact that really doesn't come.
And lying across the board.
It doesn't, and like especially when we get to the reveal and like what happens and what Scarlett actually, the reasons why Scarlett killed him was it was like so out of left field.
Yeah.
And then Tallulah plays the helpless victim, which I was like, no, bro. When she says like there were so many times I could have like made the situation better. I could have said, hey Zach, this is not going to work. Hey Zach, let's stop. Instead of shrinking him along.
She totally
did. You know you're not interested. That's the part where her character, I need to see more. I need to see something happen to her character, because we kind of left with a weird kind of open ending a little bit. We just don't really get that resolution. And
she got no real consequences. I guess she did, in that she was being held captive or whatever, but there were no real consequences to what she did. And I saw Tallulah as, I don't want to say like a weak character, but she was, because she couldn't find her voice. She couldn't find her voice with Scarlett. She couldn't find her voice with Zach in terms of expressing what she wanted and then sticking and standing by that. Like, the only conviction she really had was towards her son. But even then, that was like flimsy at best. And so I definitely could see having a problem with Tallulah. I also did not like the cheating. And I'm one who, I don't mind cheating, because there are some people who are like, that's an absolute hard line where they're like, I don't want to read cheating in a book. I have read some books where there is infidelity, and I understand it. I'm not okay with it, but I understand it. But there's also repercussions, and it moves things forward, and things have to happen, right? This is not that. She every time she was meant to like tell Zach or to like really give herself over to Scarlett, something would come in the way, or she would be prevented from doing that because it didn't work out in her favor. So she wanted her cake and eat it too. And for me, that is like, no, I'm not cool with that. And the person, I feel like Zach was controlling. He absolutely was controlling. But, you know, she could have easily walked away from him, and she could have easily made different choices, like she said, and she didn't do that. And the thing that bothered me, I think, the most is that Zach suffered the most out of all of that. And he's a 19-year-old guy. He worked lots of hours, saved up a lot of money to try to build a family and to try to do the right thing. You know, and you could see that, like, she just, even like at the restaurant where he's like ordering all this expensive food, knowing that he can't afford it. And she does kind of say, like, we don't have to do that, but he really pushes. And rather than putting her foot down and saying no, because she had no intention of like, whatever, she just lets him do it. And she leads him down this path of believing that things are going to work out. So you could see why he is resentful and angry and is like lashes out and says, you're not going to see your son ever again. Like, I understand that. But if they would have allowed things to kind of play out, it would have worked out in a very different way. So, but even having said all of that, I was still very interested in all of that and to see like where things played out. I do at the end feel like it left a little bit to be desired at the end, where it was like you kind of were left hanging with, you know, how did things fare with Tallulah, and then sort of like that little spin at the end, you know, with other characters. And so like, I felt like it needed a little bit more to kind of wrap it up, but I think that's her style of just leaving it really open-ended, you know, because I think it ended it at looped back to the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think the problem that I had was that, like you said, like that resolution, but that final twist chapter that a lot of thrillers do, it's really hard to do that right and have it make sense. The whole Liam thing was just like, I was like, okay, like it really doesn't change the fact, because I don't even remember them going into detail what happened with Scarlett and that dude who I believe he molested her or raped. I can't remember.
They had an affair. They had a consensual affair, but then she wanted it to end, and he really didn't want it to end. So he broke up with his wife, and then kind of was like forceful with her, and that's where Liam came into play.
Because even with that, I was like, okay, like Liam wasn't a major player throughout the whole entire book. Like, it does add some context, but it didn't really need to be there because we didn't get the resolution with the characters that I was hoping for. Because Tallulah, almost in the end, she makes it out scot-free, really. Scarlett, Scarlett has been somehow sending cryptic Instagram posts. Yeah. And like, as soon as they get caught, Scarlett just like lets everything go and just confesses to everything. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I was like, that makes zero sense for you to go through all that trouble to like just do that and just go, okay, yeah, sorry, I accidentally killed him and we tried to frame Tallulah. I was like, I just wanted the conversation. I'm like, what are you gonna tell your son that because you had an affair, your mistress killed your father? I was like, there were so many scenes I just needed like a glimpse or something, like a hint that was going to happen. I was like, you spent so much time with these characters, you could at least give us that. That's why I had problems with the mystery. I wish it was a little bit more even with the characters, so we got those developments alongside a really well-developed mystery instead of what happened in this book, where it was only like the last couple chapters. You get everything that you need. You get all the reveals, and then final twist chapter, and then you're done.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
It does. You know how like sometimes you read a book and you're like, you give it, for me, if I give something like a 2 or whatever, I feel like that was a waste of my time. Like, did you feel like, were you just frustrated with how it sort of was laid out and wrapped up? And so therefore you felt like it could have been better and could have been done better. And so therefore you knocked it down to a 2, or did you like read it and go, that was a total waste of my time? Like, I just felt that was pointless.
No, I definitely didn't. It was well written. Like it wasn't poorly written. Like I know Lisa Jewell is a good author,
Mm-hmm.
but mystery thrillers, especially when you read a lot in that genre,
Right.
like an author really has to bring their A game. Like I can remember one book, For Your Own Good, by
Mm-hmm.
Samantha Downing. I
Mm-hmm.
did not know where that book was going. Like
Mm-hmm.
you think you were following one character and then you just kind of jump around and it becomes this huge tangled web that you just continue following. You don't know where it's going, but it wasn't like an earth-shattering premise. So
Mm-hmm.
like when I want to read thrillers, I want or mysteries, I want to like go like, okay, what's happening here? What is this character doing here? Oh my goodness, this character died. And I feel like we didn't get
Mm-hmm.
that. I felt like this was more like a contemporary mystery, almost like a cozy mystery. And then you just get all the mystery stuff at the end,
Right.
which I can see that working for some readers, but for me, like I didn't find myself I wasted time reading it. I
Mm-hmm.
did find myself going like, okay, that was a little bit of a slug to get through because as soon as I knew where it was going, I was like, okay,
Oh,
now
you're,
I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop,
yeah. Yeah.
if that makes sense. But what about for you?
Like I said, I was interested in, and again, I think it does have something to do with that I don't read in this genre. So, I think thriller mysteries, I've read Megan Golden's like The Escape Room, or, what was her other one? She did the
Oh, the water something. I know what you
Night
told me
Swim.
about it.
Night
The
Swim.
nice one.
Night Swim. I loved it. Night Swim was really great. So, this is, and then I read a couple of Blake Crouches, like Recursion and Black Matter. And so this was like, that's all I've ever read. And then I read this. And so I'm like, I'm super excited because it's very different than what I typically read, but it still has, because I like the dynamics and the psychology between the characters. So I like to see that built up. And then I also want to be interested in the story and the plot and the development. So I was okay with that. There were several things that like I said, that I was a little bit bothered by, that there was no real like ramifications for what Tallulah did. She kind of got off like, and one could argue again, she was held captive and she came out with a severe drug dependency. So like that, like probably is repercussions in and of itself. Making poor decisions. I would likely think that she would make some better choices moving forward. But to your point, what is she going to tell her son, that happened to his father? And what is that like going to look like, that this kid is going to be, you have to live with this for the rest of his life, So, but overall, I thought like the story, it was well written. I thought the story was laid out well. I liked the dynamics of the characters. There was a couple things that I was like, do we really need Sophie's perspective, or do we need this other, I think there was another, and I can't remember her name. There was
Oh,
another
it was
female
the
character,
friend, like
the
Mimi
friend.
or something.
Yeah, that I was like,
It was a
what?
friend of Scarlett's
Yeah,
towards
I
the
was like,
end,
I don't
yeah.
understand like what her purpose is in all of this. So, but again, overall, like I thought it was well done. So I'm pleased with the pick. So, I can say like in all of our like our book club picks that we've done so far, like I'm happy with all of the reads that we have, what we've read so far this month. So even though this one is not your favorite, I still think it's like, it was worth it.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's good if you want to get into mystery thrillers. I
It's
think
like a
this is
nice introduction.
it's a really great transition because I think sometimes mystery thrillers can be a little bit overcomplicated with the mystery. So you're like,
Right.
wait, who's this character? What happened? Who's this random character? I like how you get the opposite in this one. So I think if you want to get into this genre and you just want to, hey, I just want to spend time with the characters,
Yeah.
follow the story, have reveals that make sense,
Mm-hmm.
then I think this is definitely a great starter place for
That's
if you want to get into this genre.
I love that you said that. There was one other book that I read this month, and I forgot to mention it was Alice Feeney's
Oh,
Sometimes
rock,
I
paper,
Lie.
scissors. Oh, sometimes I lie. Yeah.
And Sometimes I Lie. And that for me was exactly what you just said. It was overcomplicated. Like it had all of the components that I was like, this is going to be great, right? Because she's like, I'm in a coma. she's like, my husband doesn't love me anymore. And sometimes I lie. I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And as I started to read it, I was like, is this the sister? Is this the best friend? I don't know. Who's this other dude? What's going on? He was 5 years ago. I was so confused that I lost the plot and couldn't hold it. And so therefore it lost my attention. And so once you get lost in a plot somewhere, and I usually can track and do really well, but once you get lost in the plot with a mystery like that, then you try to pick back up, it's already too late. You got to go back and recapture what you've lost and get back on this sort of train so that you don't like miss your stop. And so I think that I gave that a 2 because it ruined my experience because it was overcomplicated for me. So then I read this and I go, oh, this is a breath of fresh air. I can follow it pretty easy. I'm not having to get all caught up in all these other like little dynamics that are going on, if that makes sense. That's sometimes why I struggle with high fantasy, because when you get high fantasy and you're doing all this intense world building, I'm like, oh my God, it's like to try to keep up. And then you've got a cast of like 20 characters that you're like, who is that? And how do they relate to each other? Like you can't get overcomplicated. You got to keep it real simple and real clean, Yeah,
I definitely agree with everything that you said. Like it is what it is. I think the right audience will like this book, just like with every book.
Yeah.
I just think I should have if I rated this as like someone who hasn't read a ton in this genre, I probably would have given it a higher rating. It was just those things like character and mystery. As soon as I heard, okay, Tallulah disappeared and Zach disappeared, one or both of them are dead. I'm like, she's not going to do anything different to shock me. Like I would be shocked that they were both alive and then they did something and then they had a threesome with Scarlet or something crazy happened. I was like, I knew I wasn't gonna get that in that book.
Yeah.
In this book. So I was like, okay, like I said earlier, I was just kind of waiting for the shoe to drop. That's the only problem when you read too much of this genre. You get too good at like going like, okay, I already know how this is gonna play out. Or if you're a true crime junkie, like you already know how these stories are gonna play out. You're just kind of like, I'm just waiting to see if you do something unique with it.
Right. You clocked it. So you're just like, okay, so now I'm going to just get through this. So
I was like, let me sip my coffee. Let me just wait. Okay. When we're going to get to the reveal.
Yeah. But we did it. We tried it. It was, a book of the month, I think like a pick for book of the month. And so it's gotten, when you go on Goodreads, I think it has a 4.2 star rating or something. So it's got a 4.38 or something. So it's got a fairly good rating. So there's a lot of people out there that are really enjoying this. So I think if you want to give the genre a try, if you want to like dip your toe in mystery thriller, because most of the people that are coming in on this channel are really into dark romance or into the romance genre, definitely it would be, I call these my little palate cleansers. They're like nice to kind of break up the monotony of what you read. And so like, I definitely recommend that you go ahead and check it out for sure. So then the next thing I think that we should probably talk about is, do we want to do, and I'll let you do it, Charles, what's going to be the reveal of the next book that you are so excited to read with me, because it is my pick as well.
So in the next video, we're going to be reading Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. And this is a high fantasy adult. I think it's the first book in a series. I think it's going to be a series, I believe. Don't quote me on that.
He's calling it basically one, so
I believe it's going to be a series, maybe a trilogy like Nevernight. And in this book, it is kind of like a story within a story, and we follow our main male character as he goes through a set of trials and tribulations. I don't want to say like too much about the main character, but it's a story within a story. So and there is some steam, there's a little bit of romance, but it's definitely high fantasy, adult high fantasy. So all you romance readers, do not expect to be a huge romantic bent. It is first and foremost high fantasy. But we will be reading that.
I saw a post from J. Kristoff and he was so upset because they classified it as romance. And he's like, I think it was like Amazon put it as romance. And he was like, they're drunk. This is not romance. I was like, settle down, Jay. It's all right. Like, we know. So I'm super excited. So that'll be our next kind of conversation. And Charles and I will sort of figure out like how we're going to arrange it and what it's going to look like and when it's coming out and all that good stuff, because it's a chunker. So it's going to take a little bit of time. So we've got to plan it out and be strategic about it. So we will let you know about that. But I think that is all that we have for today. Charles, do you have any other things you want to add to what we're doing?
No, I think we covered everything that we needed to cover. I hope you guys enjoy watching this video.
Yes, and keep tuning in. And you guys know that I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So please click the like bell and the notification bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. And go and check out Charles's videos on his channels because he has very cool videos with interviews with authors and interviews with other booktubers and a lot of cool stuff that's very different than the content that I do. So if you want to check out some different stuff, go and check out Charles's channel. But that is all that I have for today, you guys. And thank you so much for joining me. And I will see you next time.